Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. In this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 29th March 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 6 articles which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. Title says Co-Win upgraded, 1 crore can register for job daily. So this article mainly talking about this Co-Win platform. So this article is important regarding governance and also even health point of view. So now we are going to discuss what is context, why it is in news, and we are going to discuss some important details regarding this and also facts. So these facts will be important regarding your prelims especially. So now let's get started with our discussion regarding this article. And now first let us see context. So context mainly says that Co-Win platform for COVID-19 vaccination registration. So this has been upgraded, okay. So now we can go for registration of more number of registration under this COVID-19 vaccination under this Co-Win now. So this is context. So now this Co-Win platform has been ramped up or upgraded and it is now going to accept 1 crore registration and also record vaccination of about 50 lakh persons per day. So as we know, there is increasing of COVID-19 cases recently, right? So we are seeing there is second wave of COVID-19. So because of this, we need to increase our vaccination of this COVID-19 such that we can save number of lives from this COVID-19 deaths, right? So because of this, now we came up with upgradation of this Co-Win platform also. So this will be very helpful for registration of people and as well as it will be helpful for record of vaccination of 50 lakh persons per daily. So this is context. And now let us see some important details which are highlighted in this article. So first and foremost here is because of this upgradation of this system, it is not a one-stop process but it's a continuous process. As we know, whenever we need some requirements, we need to go for upgradation, right? For example, if we have any app, okay, so based on at present conditions, we came up with this so and so app. But what happened after some period of time had happened, then we need some increase in number of users who are adding it and we need to add some changes to this app, right? So because of this, we need to go for upgradation of that app. So in the same way, to meet this present circumstances, to increase our vaccination of this COVID-19, so we came up with this upgradation of this Co-Win platform. So why? Why? Because there is increasing number of cases and we need to increase our registration and also we need to increase our vaccination load. So because of all these reasons, we came up with upgradation. And now let us see how this system works. So this system works at 4 levels. So first level, it will be open for public such that they can go for easy registrations. And next one is after that registration, there will be verification and there will be platform management and finally there will be certificate generation. So these are 4 important levels that are operated in this Co-Win. And now let us see some important facts regarding this Co-Win platform. So first of all, what is this Co-Win? Co-Win, it is a cloud-based information technology platform and it is supposed to handle minute details of India's COVID-19 immunization program. So it mainly includes registration of beneficiaries and also allocating vaccination centers. It will also include sending of text messages and even they also have some feature like live monitoring of vials in cold storage also. And which are agencies which are included in this? So agencies mainly comes under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So this is not a new platform to deal with this COVID-19, but it is already present. So Co-Win platform is also already present and it has been used for conducting pulse polio programs. And now because of COVID-19, we came up with expansion of this Co-Win platform now. Okay, technology infrastructure that will be mainly managed by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology and also National Information Center. And now let us see about important features. So first and foremost thing that should remember here is it will be helpful for monitoring and tracking. It also includes counter proxy vaccinations and it is also used with this Aadhaar number. So it is also called as Aadhaar enabled thing. So these are some important features of this CoWIN platform. Finally, so these are some important things that you need to remember regarding this article. And now let us see next article. Title says 27 migratory birds found dead at wildlife sanctuary in Himachal. So this article mainly talking about Pong Dam, which is located at Himachal. Okay, Pong Dam Wildlife Sanctuary located in Himachal Pradesh. So in this Pong Dam, why it is in news? Because recently 27 birds they found dead at this wildlife sanctuary, and people they are suspecting that these birds died because of avian influenza. So we discussed about this avian influenza number of times, I think 2 months ago. So now let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So we are going to discuss context, why it is in news, and also some important details here. And finally we are going to see some facts regarding avian influenza and also regarding Pong Dam, okay, wildlife sanctuary. And now let us see first context. So before seeing that, let us see map where it is located, okay. So this is map of this Pong Dam. So this mainly located on river Beas, okay. And you have to remember this Harike here. So this Harike it is famous because here Beas and Sutlej they join at this Harike, okay. So this Pong Dam located on this river Beas. So here at this place we have this Pong Dam, okay. So this is about this location of this Pong Dam. And now let us see some context here. So about 27 migratory birds they have been reported dead on account of an avian influenza. So now the samples of those are sent to regional disease diagnostic lab to confirm whether they died because of this avian influenza or any other disease. So if you see at this time, that is this March, so this March here migratory birds who already came to India, they will go back to their breeding grounds which are present in Central Asia, okay. So in winter season, whenever the temperature becoming very low in Central Asia, so they will reach India through Central Asian flyway, okay. So through this Central Asian flyway they will enter into India and they will be staying in some areas, right. So what happened here now, because of onset of summer in India, so because there is increase in temperature, right, so now they will move back to this Central Asia. They are breeding grounds of this migratory birds. So these are some important facts. And if you see here, why these birds they are suffering from this avian influenza? Because of low levels of immunity. Whenever migratory birds they are coming to India, so they do not have proper immunity to pathogens which are present in India, right. So because of this, whenever there is low level of immunity that is seen in birds, so these birds will be affected easily by this influenza. And now let us see some facts regarding this avian influenza. So wild birds they are considered as natural reservoirs of bird flu virus. So bird flu virus is influenza virus, right. So if you see, whenever there is one bird which is affected by this influenza, because of some droppings of that bird, and whenever it is drinking water in nearby water fields or nearby water resources they are present in that area, so that will also leads to contamination of water. If at all any healthy bird which is coming and taking water from that same thing, then there will be transmission of this virus, okay. So migration of virus that mainly happens through droppings of infected bird and also by contaminating of water. So according to WHO, it says that more than half of bird flu that take place in Central Asian flyway. So I want to give you a small homework. Please refer about flyways of migratory birds. So we already discussed in our, I think 1 month back regarding these flyways. So you have to do revision for sure, and this is your homework. And now let us see some more facts. So if you are talking about this avian influenza, it is one of highly contagious viral disease. So this viral disease affects several species of food producing birds. For example, we can say chickens, turkeys, ducks, etc. And if you are talking about types of influenza, there are 3 types: type A, type B and type C. So type A influenza, it is known to infect animals. Okay, so it is called as zoonotic virus. And type B and type C virus that mostly infect humans. Okay, and if you see some subtypes of avian influenza, there are mainly 3 subtypes. First one is A H5N1, H7N9, H9N2. So you have to remember these subtypes that will be important regarding prelims. And if you see what will be impact of this avian influenza. So because of this avian influenza, whenever it is attacking poultry birds, then that will lead to devastating consequences on economy of country and especially regarding poultry industry of that country. And next one is farmers might experience a high level of mortality of their flocks. So more than 50% of flocks they will die whenever any bird is infected with this avian influenza. So this is impact. And now let us see some facts regarding this Pong Dam Wildlife Sanctuary. So it is mainly located in Kangra district in Himachal Pradesh. So in 1975 this Pong Dam was built across river Bias. At that time it was called as Pong Reservoir, or it is also called as Maharana Pratap Sagar. So these are some important prelims facts. And later on in 1983, entire reservoir was declared as wildlife sanctuary by Himachal Pradesh government. And later in 1994 declared as important wetland of country, that is wetland of national importance. And in November 2002 this lake was declared as a Ramsar site. So in this context you need to focus on timeline. In 1975 it was built, and in 1983 it was declared as wildlife sanctuary by Himachal Pradesh government, and in 1994 it was declared as wetland of national importance, and in November 2002 it was declared as Ramsar site. So these are very important things. First you have to remember here Bias is Pong Dam also called as Pong Reservoir or Maharana Pratap Sagar. It is wildlife sanctuary, it is wetland of national importance, and also it is Ramsar site. Okay, and if you see further, the lake fled mainly by this river Bias and its some tributaries like Gaj River, Neogal, Banwa, Ul, Bangana and Banga. So these are some important tributaries of river Bias that may be important regarding prelims. Okay, so these are some important things that you should remember regarding this article. And now let us see next article. Title says part of Dwaraka Expressway collapse. So this is one of important expressway here. Okay, so some part of this Dwaraka Expressway that collapsed here. So this article is important regarding infrastructure, which comes under GS paper 3 under economy. So you can expect some prelims based facts regarding this Dwaraka Expressway. So now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So first let us see context. So what is this context? Here a portion of under construction elevated road on Dwaraka Expressway on National Highway 248 BB, which is connecting Delhi and Gurugram, collapsed. So what happened? Some portion of this Dwaraka Expressway that collapsed. And now let us see some facts regarding this Dwaraka Expressway. So it is about 29 kilometers expressway, connects Dwaraka Delhi, Dwaraka to Gurugram, okay, and it is being constructed under Bharatmala project. And I want to give you second homework for you students. So here you need to refer about what is this Bharatmala program also. So this is your homework again. And it is, and if you see here this expressway about 18.9 kilometers length that falls in Haryana, and about 10.1 kilometer length that is located in Delhi. So if you are talking about this Dwaraka Expressway, it is first elevated urban expressway in India. So what might be benefits whenever we are going for this infrastructure projects? So first and foremost here it will create employment directly or indirectly. And whenever we are talking about this expressway, it will decrease pollutions because it will decrease traffic jam or congestion. Okay. So this is about this benefits. So don't forget your homework, that is to refer about this Bharatmala project. And now let us see next article. Title says Tamil Nadu has highest revenue deficit among election bound states. So this article mainly talking about revenue deficit. It is important topic under economy which comes under GS paper 3. So now let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So if you see context, it mainly says that as per revised budget estimates for 2020 to 21, Tamil Nadu has highest revenue deficit among poll bound states. So in some states now polling or elections that is going to be happen. So in those states, Tamil Nadu which is having highest revenue deficit. So this is according to report. So if you see some details, it mainly says that Tamil Nadu economy is largest among the states and it is third largest in India. So you have to remember this fact for sure. And if you are preparing for any state public service examinations, then this data will be very helpful. And West Bengal mainly stands 6th, Kerala is 11th, Assam is 17th, Pondicherry is 26th. So this is according to CARE report on economic and financial profile of states. So now let us try to discuss some facts regarding this revenue deficit. So what is meaning of revenue deficit? So if we have government is getting revenues and also government is spending. That means government has expenditure and revenues. Whenever expenditure which is more than revenue, this condition is called as revenue deficit. Okay, in simple words. So it mainly refers to excess government revenue expenditure over revenue receipts. That condition is called as revenue deficit. I also tried to write formula here. Revenue deficit is equal to revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. An estimate is revenue deficit includes only such transactions that affect current income and expenditure of government. So when we are having current income and as well as expenditure of government, then only we can easily calculate this revenue deficit. Okay, so this is about this article. And now let us see next article. So before seeing this article, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. So if you want to prepare for this 2022 and if you want to give attempt in 2022, so we came up with one excellent course, that is current affairs package along with mains answer writing practice. So if you ask me what is importance of current affairs, about 50 to 60% of questions, either it may be prelims or mains or interview, you can expect questions from this current affairs. Okay, and if you are talking about this mains answer writing practice, so many students who are especially beginners, they ignore about this mains answer writing practice. Finally, if they had cleared UPSC prelims, then they cannot clear mains. Okay, it means answer writing skills plays an important role. Okay, we are exactly focusing on this, how to improve your answer writing skills. And if you join this course, we also provide you prelims practice questions along with video solutions. So in this way, this course is exactly focusing on demand of UPSC. So finally, I want to say one thing. Please don't take this course as a choice. Please try to join this course as soon as possible, and details of this course are given in description box. So if you want to talk to me directly, you can call to this number 8074765513. Okay, and now let us see next article. Title says tackling the period taboo. So this article mainly talking about menstruating women. So this comes under social issues, okay, under GS paper 1 and as well as GS paper 2. Okay, society and social issues which comes under GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. And this topic will be important regarding interview and even mains answer writing. So now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that recently one institute which is located in Gujarat, so allegedly which forced over 60 girls to remove their undergarments to check whether they are menstruating or not. So because of this, there are some complaints which are coming to that institute, like the girls who are menstruating, they are entering into temple and as well as kitchen in their premises. So because of this, it is against some institutional rules. So they went for checking of about 60 girls, okay, whether they are menstruating or not. So in this context, 4 persons who are involved in that, they are arrested here. So this is context. And now let us talk about important things regarding this menstruation. So women or girls who enter into reproductive age, they will go for this menstruation. So in this menstruation, what will happen? Every month, one egg will be matured in ovary, and if at all there is no fertilization that happen, that egg will be dying within 2 days. So after that, that died egg will be eliminated in the form of menstruation, right? So what happened here? Here in our society, there is one stigma. Even many rural areas, they also say that women who are menstruating, they do not touch each and everything. For example, even pickles, even turmeric, everything which is present in our home. And some people, they say is that they should not enter even into kitchen. They should not enter into even temples, so and so, right? So because of this, even now there is stigma which is attached to menstruation, and also some restrictions that should be followed by women either in private places and also even in public sphere. Okay, so this has been followed in India in long past of women's lives in India. So this stigma mainly finds its roots in motion of purity and pollution here attached to historically menstruation. So whenever woman she is any menstruating, so she is called as polluted. So this is entirely based on purity and pollution. Okay, so the roots of this stigma which is present in our society, it is based on some roots of notion of purity and as well as pollution that is attached historically. So if you're talking about recent case regarding this, that is Indian Young Lawyers Association versus State of Kerala 2018, it is famously called as Sabarimala case also. So in this case, Supreme Court mainly said that any social practice which excludes women from participation in public life as a result of their menstruation, it is discriminatory on grounds of their sex. So whenever we are not allowing any person, we are excluding any woman, that reason here is she is menstruating, that is against Article 14, that is right to equality of our constitution. Okay, because why this is discrimination? Because whenever this exclusion of women based on the grounds of menstruation or grounds of sex here, the notion it is mainly targeting psychological feature of women. Okay, and second important thing that should remember here is it is against notion of substantiative equality which is adopted by our constitution. So these are some important points that you should remember. Okay, and now let us see next article. Title says needless research of a buried issue. Okay, so this article mainly talking about Places of Worship Act. So now let us try to understand everything regarding this article which is important regarding UPSC point of view. So this article will be very important regarding mains and even from interview point of view. Okay, and now let us see context. Here Supreme Court asked the center to respond plea which is challenging the Places of Worship Special Provisions Act of 1991. So this act mainly freezes status of places of worship as it was on 15th August 1947. So in this way, court also opened doors for litigation in various places of worship across country including Mathura and Varanasi. So regarding this Places of Worship Act, so there is two important exclusions. So first one is regarding Babri Masjid, okay, that is Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid, okay, because this case which is happening earlier, right? So first what is context here means, here Supreme Court mainly asked center to respond plea which is challenging Places of this Worship Act of 1991. So this Places of Worship Act mainly freezes status of worship of places of worship as it was on 15th August 1947. So in this case, because of this plea that challenged, so that led to opening doors of many places like Mathura and as well as Varanasi. So if you see some facts regarding this Place of Worship Special Provision Act of 1991, it mainly seeks to maintain religious character of places of worship. And it was as it was in 1947. In 1947, what are religious institutions or religious temples are present, they want, now this act want to maintain the religious character of that places, okay, except in case of Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid dispute, because which was already in court before 1947 onwards, okay. And next, if you see purpose here, it mainly says that two important sections that you should remember, that is section 3 and section 4 subclass 2 and section 6. So section 3 mainly says that it mainly bans conversion of place of worship, okay, into another religion, okay. So this is about section 3, and section 4 subclass 2 says that all suits, appeals or other proceedings regarding converting character of a place of worship that were pending on 15th August 1947, they will come to end. So whatever any cases regarding this religious worship, places of worship here, so which are pending on 15th August 1947, they will become end. So after that, there will be no fresh proceedings that can be filed here. Okay, so in this way, cutoff date here even is 15th August 1947. And this act also says that it also imposes a positive obligation on state to maintain the religious character of every place of worship. So here responsibility which is given to state to maintain religious character of every place of worship here. Okay, and if you see exemptions, there are two important exemptions. So first exemption here is disputed site which is located at Ayodhya. Okay, because trial in Ayodhya case proceeded even after enforcement of law. So because of this exemption that is given, even after that, even 2018 also, 2019 also trial regarding this Ayodhya case that proceeded, because it is exempted under this act. And next one is any place of worship which is an ancient and historical monument, any archaeological site is present, which is mainly covered by one important act, that is Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Site Remains Act of 1958. They will be also exempted. Okay, and if you see next section, that is section 6, which mainly talks about penalty. So if any person who violates that, so imprisonment is about 3 years along with fine. Okay, and now let us see Supreme Court view in 2019. So first important thing is regarding Ayodhya verdict. So regarding this Ayodhya verdict, Supreme Court came up with a constitutional bench, and finally Supreme Court said that this area should be given to Ram Mandir, right? And later it is also allocated 5 acres of land for mosque there. Okay, it is not in that place exactly, but some place about 5 acres of land that is also allocated to masjid. Okay, so now constitutional bench in this Ayodhya verdict here, constitutional bench that was set up, and this constitutional bench that referred to the law said that secular values of our constitution and strictly prohibits retrogression. Okay, and recent petition that mainly argues that this act, it is violating secularism. So secularism, it is very important basic structure, right? So even in our preamble we are talking about secularism, and we have many articles which mainly talks about this secularism. So why it is violating secularism? Because it came with cutoff date of 15th August 1947. So cutoff date, it is arbitrary, irrational, and as well as retrospective. So this date mainly prohibits Hindus, Jains, Buddhists and Sikhs to reclaim their place of worship. Okay, because these places of worship like Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, Sikhs, they were invaded, they are encroached by fundamentalist barbaric invaders here. So now because of this act, it is mainly violating secularism. And second important argument here is center has no power to legislate on pilgrimage and as well as burial grounds which are mainly present under state list. Okay, so in this context, government mainly said that it could make use of its residuary powers which is present under entry list of 97 of union list. Okay, so if you are talking about this entry 97 which confers residuary powers to the center, that will help to legislate on subjects that are not enumerated in any of these 3 lists. Okay, so this is gist of this article that you should remember regarding this. So today I am giving holiday for you because of an account of Holi. There is no question today. Okay, so by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. Thank you so much.